Yeah, and I think I alluded to this earlier that, solving the climate crisis is really going to be an all hands on deck approach. It's not just for the engineers or just the politicians or, some of the groups in between. And we're going to need flexibility. We're going to need nimbleness. We have to be practical in the pathways that will lead us to meeting our goals. While many of our commitments are ambitious, we have to balance that with the technologies that are available today, leverage existing infrastructure, which I think is key. We have to remember that. We can't forget about our existing buildings and deferred maintenance, et cetera. And we also have to consider, the current landscape and the utility infrastructure that's available to us today, and work with our partners to, come up with some solutions. So, at the same time, I think having an end goal is great, but we also need to consider, I mentioned this earlier too, the transition in the interim technologies and the pathways that will help us reach those commitments in 2050 or whatever it is that we've set. So let's not forget about, the in-between period, because that's what's going to get us to the future, and not just focus on, the future and where we want to be.
So it seems to me that because this is such a meaty issue and so important, it is one of those that the conversation just needs to continue, and there will be sparks flying all over. Each day there will be some new spark for a new idea, right? A new inspiration that might very well lead to that technology that we need to be created. And it's like so important to have these conversations in front of diverse thinkers, right? Like diverse groups of people with diverse experience, because it is such a large problem that it is going to take so much creative and out of the box thinking that you can only get that by having a conversation frequently with different people, different backgrounds. I mean, we just need to figure out, like, let's get some musicians in the room and maybe they'll come up with a great idea. Actually, the keynote speaker is a musician.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
she might just like, oh, why
That's a good
didn't we
plug for
think of
her.
this?
Yeah.
Hey, I spoke to June. She might very well ask a question that makes everybody go, oh, of course.
Didn't think about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And just keeping an open mind, really, like, going back to your earlier question about technologies that are sort of new, but starting to get implemented more, is microreactors and nuclear. But sometimes you say the word nuclear in a community and literally, no pun intended, it's like nuclear, like people just want to run away, right? So it's being open-minded to that and changing the way we look at certain technologies and not just writing them off because, oh, nuclear is bad, nuclear is, Fukushima or Chernobyl. And how do we produce safe, alternatives to that, so that, because it is still a clean carbon technology without using fossil fuels, but we have to be open-minded and come up with different solutions for maybe the disposal of nuclear or whatever it is that concerns the public. But just in general, being, like I said, flexible and nimble and open-minded to new technologies, having those conversations, listening, that's, I think, what drives innovation, and not just staying in your lane and in your box, right?